and Keeps Gaming here, and today we're doing a Smash Bracket reaction, Wario versus Lucas. And before we start, I'm just going to let you guys know, sorry I haven't been doing any reactions. I've recently moved, but not only that, as soon as I moved to this house I'm in now, I actually fell quite ill, and I've only just got over my illness, but I'm starting to feel ill again. But this illness is my sore throat this time, so if I'm a bit groggy halfway through this, I do apologise. As I said, I've only just recovered being ill, and now I'm going to be ill again, sore throat and cough and all, so different sickness, illness. So anyway, before we start, there's my Smash Bracket bingo card that's down there, ones I've guessed right and wrong. If you've been following my reactions, you guys know which ones I've got right and wrong, and it just shows you what I've got guessed right and wrong. So what I do is, usually I start, before I start the video, I guess who I think's gonna win. I think Wario might win this, I'm not sure. And then when I hear the analysis for each character, I might change my mind before the match begins. If I don't, then I'll stick with that character. But anyway, without further ado, let's get straight into it. See if I win this one. Oh, here we go.
What would happen if two rivals of the Subspace Emissary went toe-to-toe in a match to determine who would come out on top? I'm Ink, and this is Smash Bracket, a show dedicated to solving that exact question. If each and every playable character from the Super Smash Bros. Series was entered into a giant fighting tournament using them at the peak of their strength, who would be victorious? The rules for this series are on screen now, with a link for a further breakdown in the description below. With all that in place, let's take a look at today's match between Lucas and Wario to see who will advance on to the next round and who will be disqualified. Okay. Let's get into it.
Oh, sorry if my screen's a bit cut off the side.
It's said that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. When we think about legendary heroes, our minds often turn to people who achieve Herculean efforts, slay monsters, or laugh in the face of danger without blinking. But often, the truest heroes don't manifest themselves in that way. They might face more subtle adversities, or just be there for a friend, or put random packages of ramen noodles in your food when you order at the Taco Bell drive-thru. I don't know who you are or why you did that, but thank you, it was delicious. In the case of today's fighter though, Lucas, his journey to heroism was paved with fear and sadness. Lucas was born and raised in Tazmily Village, a small low-tech town that was full of strange but happy people. But everything changed when the Pig Mask Army attacked. This army, set on world domination, set fire to the nearby Sunshine Forest. This sent the entire town into a panic that culminated in the disappearance of Lucas's twin brother Klaus and the death of his mother. This loss sent shockwaves through the tight-knit town. And just like what happens in real life with vulnerable people, somebody saw a chance to manipulate their way to power. The high-ranking commander of the Pig Mask Army, Facade, moved into town alongside his pet monkey slave and began his scheme to take control. He introduced the innocent town to the concept of money, only to steal it back and accuse other townsfolk to cause an uproar. Facade seized this opportunity to blame the new state of disarray and the recent fires on the citizens, claiming that the only way to regain peace was to allow him to sell the television-like happy boxes in their homes.
What?
These devices are implied to have slowly brainwashed the people of Tazmily into becoming a hyper-industrialized city that corrupted their hearts toward greed over the course of years. However, not everybody had one of these happy boxes. Lucas and his father Flint remained uninfluenced, and they spent their time grieving and coming to terms with the loss of Lucas's mother. So with this backdrop of a corrupted city, and upon hearing rumors of doppelgangers showing up as missing people, Lucas went to investigate. And this launched him headfirst into a strange journey full of new friends, a battle to save the planet, and the search for his long-lost twin brother. Lucas began this quest as an average 13-year-old boy, standing at just over 5 feet tall. He was a coddled and shy kid for most of his life, and gained the reputation of a crybaby after the death of his mother. Despite this though, Lucas is actually far stronger than your average teenager. He can take on hordes of enemies with nothing but a stick, and along the way, he also awakens to several psychic abilities. And funny enough, Lucas can't actually use any of the abilities that he has in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, despite that being what he's best known for. Instead, Lucas's magic is much more defensive in nature. He can raise his offense and defense, reduce incoming psychic and physical damage by half and even turn that damage back on his opponent with counter, and he can even heal himself back up from the brink of death after taking mortal damage with Life Up, and cure an array of status ailments with healing. His magic isn't all focused on support though. PK Flash creates a blinding light that has a ton of different random effects. This spell can cause their opponent to cry so intensely that they're blinded, paralyze their opponent, inflict them with strangeness, which causes them to lose control of their movements and actions, or just do nothing at all. Its most dangerous effect, though, comes from its 10% chance to instantly destroy the opponent, bypassing durability and getting a guaranteed win. However, while PK Flash houses some powerful binary abilities that can turn a fight in his favor, Lucas's real damage output comes from his signature ability, PK Love. This devastating attack hits in a massive area of effect, and it's capable of vaporizing opponents on the spot, and it even outclasses the damage of his teammate's famous PK Starstorm. Lucas's non-magical abilities are also worth mentioning, because this kid packs a serious punch, or should I say swing, as his weapons of choice are sticks and baseball bats. He carries several different options to pull from, but his strongest are the mystical stick and the real bat. He can swap between these two to alternate boosts to his different stats, with the real bat hitting slightly harder than the mystical stick. With these melee attacks, Lucas can string together up to 16 hits in a row each time he connects an attack by stringing attacks together with the rhythm of the music. Which, by the way, for anyone else who has played Mother out there, is anyone good at this combo system, or am I just uniquely bad at it? It's always been like near impossible for me, genuinely curious. Let's get back to the video. But anyway, much of Lucas's truest versatility comes from his plethora of strange items that he carries on him. The enemy Whimperizer can make its targets weaker, whereas the Attack Attractor sprays the enemy with a smell so vile that all surrounding creatures feel compelled to attack them. But it gets weirder and weirder as I look through this list. He carries a chicken, literal poop, and the Made You Look taps an enemy on the shoulder to make them turn around. He's also got rotten bananas to make the enemies slip, and a beehive honey shower that stings the enemy multiple times with bees, and has the chance to summon a freaking bear to attack the target. What the heck? The weird thing is that this is actually one of the strongest attacks in the game. This is no ordinary bear. But anyway, not all of his items are weird and quirky. The Shield Snatcher is a sticky hand that can remove shields and counters from enemies. But he also has equipment to make him resistant to fire, ice, electricity, augment his stats, and the legendary Franklin badge reflects all lightning damage back at the attacker. He also has access to a wide variety of explosives, such as the Thunder Bomb, Pencil Rocket, or Sprinting Bomb, which chases after its target until it explodes. The most powerful attack in Lucas's arsenal, though, is the New Year's Eve Bomb. This thing is capable of bringing anyone in the game down to death's door with only a single hit point remaining, including the King statue, who is tough enough that Lucas would need to attack it constantly for over a month if he were to break it without this bomb. But with the assistance of this bomb, Lucas can nearly instantly pulverize the statue into oblivion. Speaking of which, we ought to mention Lucas's strength. Like many older games, Mother 3 is incredibly hard to measure anything in, due to its abstract combat system. We can see enemies knocked away at the ends of fights, and they'll often burst into light and disappear entirely, hinting at total vaporization. But because things are so abstract, it's hard to say if there's any one correct definitive answer on how to handle these feats in combat. What we ended up doing was looking at the strongest enemy that Lucas could destroy in a single hit with full strength and buffs on top of a critical strike in order to get his maximum output possible for a single hit. This ended up being the boss, Mr. Genator, who we can conveniently see totally destroyed after the fight. Lucas is also tough enough to survive being burnt to a crisp by lightning and withstand a 100-story fall. He's also been able to dodge out of the way of a moving train and dodge the aim of light-based attacks in combat. What I'm trying to say is that, in the end, Lucas's journey is one of a young boy dealing with survivor's guilt, shyness, and trauma, who chose to face overwhelming odds and danger to save the people that he loves most. And while he did start as a frightened, untrained child, by the end of the game, he became brave, capable, and heroic. And it was through relying on his closest friends that Lucas gained the ability to look fear dead in the eyes and triumph.
Right, before we carry on, Wario. So before we carry into Wario, that's going to be interesting because he has two attacks that can just instantly wipe out an enemy. So Wario's down from that. So I don't think Wario's got anything like that, but we have to see in his analysis. But that swayed me to Lucas now. I know one of the attacks is one hit kill, but it's 10% or whatever it is of, the chances of it is like 10% of that one hit kill or something or whatever it was. So, but that's leaning me towards Lucas with two, but he's got only, not just one, two attacks like that. New Year's Eve Bomb, which is kind of like a one hit KO, it gives your cat down to 1 HP of health. What is 1 HP of health in Smash Bracket though? There's not really life bars or health bars, so unless it's just Wario just completely exhausted to the point, where he just can't do anything, and then all Lucas has to come up to and just poke him, and he falls down, and that's it. Or the other just one hit KO move, which has got a 10% of hitting. So I don't know, but I'm leaning to Lucas now a little bit, but whether or not he can use that attack, that's what's going to determine it. So let's just carry on with this.
It's said that stars aren't born, they're made. And it's also been said that stars are huge balls of condensed gas billions of miles away. And one of those sayings has never been more true when talking about today's fighter.
That's cool.
Wario was born as one of 7 legendary star children, destined to stand in the way of Koopa Troopa efforts to achieve world domination. As a baby, Wario looked at this destiny head-on and chose to tantrum endlessly instead. So much so, in fact, that the people watching over him decided that everyone would be better off if they just chucked the baby in an underwater cave and left him there. After being saved by a kind-hearted Yoshi, baby Wario immediately got his priorities straight and pulled out a giant magnet to collect as much money as humanly possible.
That's
and
what
this
babies
is
do.
largely indicative of Wario's personality in general, which seems to rest upon 3 foundational pillars: being a jerk, being disgusting, and getting lots and lots of money. Greed is one of the primary drivers of Wario's life, and he spends most of his time seeking after riches in any way that he can. He's the Veruca Salt of Mario characters, the kind of guy to take your coat off the back just to add it to his newly established coat collection. The kind of greedy dude to put an ad in the middle of a YouTube video, breaking the flow up just to get some extra ad revenue. And in this pursuit of riches over the years, Wario's achieved many different vocations. From a treasure hunter to an athlete to a game developer, shelling out mind-numbing outsourced games to anyone he can get a buck from. Along the way, Wario's picked up a number of interesting skills and abilities to aid him in his journeys. He's a pretty decent fighter who, despite relying on his brute strength far more than skill, can do some serious fast-paced damage. His shoulder charge ability can easily shatter stone blocks, and he can also shake the entire room with a ground pound or even just by punching the floor. And while all of these strikes are dangerous, he can take things to a whole new level once he gets his hands on you. By grappling his opponents and shaking them with enough force to shatter steel, Wario can cause coins to shoot out of his targets to take for himself. His unique powers extend out to his durability as well. He survived this giant nose-shaped satellite falling out of the sky and crashing through a house and a mountain. But outside of this kind of blunt force, Wario can achieve some interesting new abilities depending on what kind of damage he endures. For example, lightning damage will transform him into Electric Wario, who's capable of dishing out some serious electric damage. Flaming Wario, on the other hand, lets him run around while engulfed in fire. And Puffy Wario allows him to achieve limited flight after being stung by creatures like bees or jellyfish. And holy crap, do I hate this design. Wow, that's hard to look at. While these forms are primarily reactionary and not something that Wario can usually achieve on his own, he does have several power upgrades that give him a similar advantage. The Dragon Hat, for example, turns him into King Dragon Wario, allowing him to shoot fire and fly for short distances.
I was going to say
while
Wario.
The Bull Helmet increases his power enough to cause massive tremors. But his most famous transformation comes from eating an entire clove of garlic, transforming him into the incredibly powerful and smelly Wario Man. In this form, Wario gets an unprecedented boost to his power and durability, and most importantly, gets a costume that fits right in with the International Justice League of Super Acquaintances. He also wields several powerful items that he's picked up over the years to aid him in combat. For example, the Good Style Staff lets him enter several different forms to gain new abilities, such as Sparky Wario, who can throw lightning. He can also throw a variety of bombs or buckets, which he can use to blind his opponents by throwing it over their heads like a discount plankton. Wario has a lot of innate athleticism despite his appearance, which allows him to charge through his levels at high speeds. But he can take this maneuverability even further with vehicles like planes, submarines, or his signature Wario bike. He's a relentless opponent, whose primary strategy revolves around being weird and rushing down his enemies with overwhelming offense. But should he find himself at a distance, he has some ways to account for that as well, such as his ray gun or fireballs. The Jet Hat also allows him to propel forward and close the distance quickly. And when this all comes together, Wario is not somebody to be trifled with, and he'll beat down anyone who gets in the way of him or his treasure, being a threat to their lives and their wallets. But with all that said and done, it is time for our fight. Let's take a look at Lucas versus Wario to figure out who will advance on to the next round of the Smash Bracket and who will be disqualified.
Okay, so compared to the two, I think Lucas has got this, even though, because he said like any damage that Lucas can take doesn't really matter. So, and also again, one hit kills. He can make someone just vanish, but it's a 10% chance of that. It's a tough one, but Wario's just got tons of offensive. I think it's Lucas. He's got just more stuff. I thought Wario's got more stuff because more games, but he's got this like more attacks that probably can kill Wario, because there's not really any durable feats that Wario looks like he's got. I know he's super durable and could turn into Super Wario, but it looks like Lucas can just dish out a lot more special sort of like attacks and attacks that can kill someone in one shot. That's what I'm leaning towards. That's why I think Lucas has got this. Okay, Lucas, I'm gonna say you. And
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Oh, WarioWare Game Boy. Was he watching Death Battle? Oh, is this supposed to be like that guy from Mother?
Alright. 3, 2, 1, go! Get out of here!
Oh. Damn. Yeah, Sonic. Did he squirt him? Hit their bees. Bees. Have some honey. It's like, what?
Hey, stupid!
Bucky. Just right next to him.
I'm amazing.
He's out of nowhere. Oh, I like this. Ramen noodles. Ink, did you give Lucas ramen noodles? What is that? Oh, it's yeah. What is it? Light? Electric Mario? Light? The combos, yeah. Keep going, honey. A pencil. Another bucket. Yeah, just defensive. This is like defensive versus offensive. Oh, bit of Dragon Ball Z there. Just countering everything constantly. Good news and bad news. Good news is that I'm finally okay, bad news is something I didn't see what I said. Too fast for me.
In your face!
Ah, okay. Was it blinded? Nothing. Oh, I forgot it didn't do nothing.
Alright, beautiful!
But is he going to do that like one hit KO though? Your New Year's Eve one?
Have a rotten day. I win!
Really? Oh, really? Should have stuck with Wario.
And there you go! This fight was interesting because it ultimately boiled down to strategy. In order for Lucas to win, he would have needed to keep his distance for long enough to either fully power up or take Wario out of the fight with a PK Flash. However, Wario's best chances came from the exact opposite approach. He would need to rush down Lucas and not let up on his assault at all until the fight was over. Any opportunity that Lucas had to act was a 25% chance to immobilize or instantly take Wario out of the fight
Yeah, I
with a
forgot
PK
about
Flash.
that. Did nothing.
And a 60% chance to blind him and provide even more room for PK Flashes or the decimating New Year's Eve bomb. To determine which character would be able to execute their preferred strategy a majority of the time, we need to take a look at their stats. Starting with speed. Both Lucas and Wario come within a few decimal points of each other. Lucas dodging out of the way of that train and Wario's speed maneuvering around his levels
Just-
both came in to roughly
just-
24 miles per hour or 38.6 kilometers
Just
per hour.
faster.
Wario could
Just.
enhance this even further with machines like his bikes or planes, but while these would be a boost in travel speed, they wouldn't really allow him the kind of speed that's relevant in a combat scenario. Not to mention that Lucas's saltwater gun is an item that's specifically designed to destroy machinery like that, causing it to instantly rust. So while they're even in speed, to go over their peak strength and durability, I'm going to bring in our lead researcher, Real Lemon, to help us out.
Hey Inc., Lucas's best show of strength was destroying Mr. Janitor with a single hit. Looking at the energy required to destroy a metal construct of that size already looks pretty impressive. But what makes it more impressive is that the attack happens in less than a tenth of a second, and Lucas is hitting with a baseball bat, meaning the point of contact is pretty small. This means that the intensity of the attack is really high. This is like having the annual power consumption of 2,000 homes concentrated on every square inch of your skin. Let's compare this to Wario's top strength output, which comes from smashing this block of stone into rubble. Between the deceptively large amount of stone being destroyed here, the speed of the punch, and the small area of Wario's fist, this is way more impressive than it seems at first glance. Lucas might have the power output of 2,000 homes, but Wario has the power of 20,000 homes. We should also mention their durability. Both characters have commonly cited high-end durability feats that are worth some critical examination. At the end of Mother 3, we witness a huge amount of destruction across the planet. There's some dialogue after this that makes it seem like Lucas may have survived, and this statement by the creator shows that he was indeed supposed to have lived through the destruction, though he clarifies it was only the island that was totally destroyed. While this is definitely impressive, when we look at what is actually happening in the cutscenes, we can see that the destruction is the result of many natural disasters over a long period of time. This means that we can't just treat Lucas as enduring a single explosion strong enough to level the island. And since we don't actually know what he did to survive here, or even which disasters he personally endured, we can't really use it as a durability feat for him. Wario has bragged that he is immortal before in the English version of the Wario 2 game manual, but even if we trusted him, this inability to be hurt wouldn't hold up against stronger attacks than he has endured before. And we definitely don't trust that he is immortal when he has items in Wario Land Shake It specifically designed to bring him back from death. Also, at the end of Shake It, Wario kills the Shake King, who then explodes into a massive column of light. While this explosion initially seems like it is impressive because it seems to push a large amount of clouds away, we can also see that it does absolutely no damage to the room that he was in or the ship that the explosion originated from, especially when you consider that these clouds seem to be caused by the presence of the Shake King in the first place. There's just not any reason to consider this explosion had a meaningful amount of power behind it. When looking at feats that hold up to scrutiny, the top durability feats of our fighters look a bit different. Lucas's best measurable durability feat is when he had volcanic steam erupt out of the ground and totally cover his body for several seconds. Volcanic steam can reach temperatures up to 400 degrees Celsius, and we can figure out the power transferred here by looking at the thermal conductivity of human skin. Lucas is enduring over 38 kilowatts per centimeter squared here, and is quite literally being cooked alive, but walks out of this with a new power instead of actual damage. When Wario gets hit by this nose-shaped satellite, we see it destroy his house and begin tunneling through the ground. Wario takes this crash head-on and doesn't seem to care at all. By measuring the size of the house compared to the size of the door, which we're assuming is Wario-sized, we can figure out that this crash has an intensity equal to about half the power capacity of the world's largest nuclear power plant. So Wario easily takes the physical stats here. His durability is too high for Lucas to deal meaningful damage to him, and his strength is more than enough to deal with Lucas's durability. Lucas's strategy, equipment, and abilities do help him deal with this stat gap a bit, but the initial head start that Wario has gives him a big advantage. Back to you, Inc.
In the end, this is honestly a battle that could go either way. There isn't a clear-cut victor because the outcome of each battle would rely heavily on the context in which they fight. If they start at close range, let's say close enough to fist bump, we believe that Wario would take the fight about 90% of the time. Lucas just wouldn't have the time required to execute on the strategy that he needs to win. But if they started at about mid-range, let's say opposite sides of a boxing ring, they'd likely go just about 50-50, with Wario sometimes being able to close in before Lucas can get off his status effects, but Lucas being able to get a winning strategy just as often. And finally, starting any farther apart would probably give this fight to Lucas about 80% of the time. He almost certainly would have the time and maneuverability that he needs to pull off the win more often than not. So while Wario wins at close range, and they tie at medium ranges, and Lucas actually takes it pretty easily at slightly longer starting distances, we feel that Wario has slightly more of an advantage at close range than Lucas has at long range, due to Wario's vehicles and other ways to close the distance quicker than normal.
I was going to say that.
So by a fraction of a fraction, Wario is the winner and will be moving on to the next round of the Smash Bracket.
Okay, before we get on to the next Smash Bracket, just want to say something. So, obviously I lost, but that's the thing, because sometimes they'll mention a attack, and again, this is nothing to take away from Smash Bracket, and they do a lot of hard work or anything. This is just my own personal opinion. It's not fact or anything, and it's just what I think. It's like sometimes they'll name an attack or move, and you like New Year's Eve bomb or New Year's bomb. And the other attack, which I can't think what it's called, where it does one hit kill, they mention it, but then they never implement it into the fight. So that's why I was leaning to what Lucas. I think that's it, one hit kill, that's it, Lucas is going to win this. But it doesn't look like they put in every single attack. So what I might have to do next time is do the opposite. So if there's an attack that, you know, there's a one hit kill, I might not say, oh yeah, this person's going to win, because it might not be included, but it's going to be very hard to predict, because like some attacks are in, some are not, so it just depends on what attacks are actually in the fight, and you don't know obviously until the fight begins, or ends, should I say. So but yeah, disappointed that I lost, you know, that one that I chose Lucas when I said my first pick was Wario. And I was going to mention about the distance thing, because in the fight there was like, you know, a lot of long range, and it was close range, I thought. But then I said, well, they've just said that the Wario can probably close the distance quicker. So there you go. It's then down to Wario for the win. So, excuse me, I'm still a Belgium. I got this cough. As soon as I became well, I was unwell again, and I got this cough. So anyway, next time on Smash Bracket, let's have a look. Who is it?
Next time on Smash.
I haven't seen any of these. I waited till now to react to them. Fire him up. So I don't know how long ago he posted. Banjo and Yoshi.
Banjo and Kazooie
Banjo versus
Yoshi.
Okay. See you guys in the next one. I hope you like my reaction. As said, like, I like Smash Bracket, and as I said, Inks wants me to react to these anyway, so it's good to react to him, doing a favour for a friend. So this is the only way I can really support it at the moment. I would like my own Smash Bracket done for me, and I would like to talk to Ink about it. And if Ink, if you're watching this, I really would like two of my favourite characters to go head to head, like Marina Lightyears versus like Master Chief, or Marina Lightyears versus like Glover or something. I've got a few ones that I would like you know, to do, but we'll see. I would love to do that. I'll maybe even make a video on it of like who I think would win or something, if I did my own personal Smash Bracket or something, I don't know, or crossover or death battle or whatever, I don't know. Let me guys know if you want me to do something like that, like my own. I won't go into details, or I can't even animate, so I don't think I could animate it or anything like this, but it would be good to do some like out there sort of matches that no one's thought of or something. So, and matches I'd like to see. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you guys enjoyed this reaction for any reason at all, please subscribe, like, and turn notifications so you guys don't miss the live streams I do or any video uploads I do. And hopefully there'll be more reactions coming soon, and I shall see you guys on the next one. Bye guys. Bye.